A big trend among AAA publishers for at least the past year has been the movement towards live or games as a service. You can think of games like Overwatch or Dota 2, which have a steady flow of new content added to the game and supplement the increased development costs with microtransactions such as loot boxes. Most of these games have a significant online component as well, since the continued support for the service depends on the engaged and healthy player base purchasing microtransactions at a steady pace. Now, a lot of people have already talked about how this pivot to live services impacts customers and the industry for better and for worse, but I want to focus on how this paradigm shift poses new challenges for game preservation. See, more traditional games mostly face the problem of storage decay and hardware scarcity, and so a lot of the time is spent trying to transfer the data to newer media or building new hardware or software for the games to run on. Live services are able to alleviate this problem somewhat by having a portion of the game stored in the cloud, but as a result, they inherit a particular problem facing MMOs, which is server shutdown. Unlike more traditional games, MMOs like World of Warcraft and live services like Destiny require a constant connection to an online server, either for authentication purposes or to execute the game's code. This means that if the server ever shuts down, the game could be left in an unplayable state. And this isn't even a theoretical concern. Just last year saw the shutdown of Marvel Heroes Omega after the developer Gazillion Entertainment went bankrupt. Marvel Heroes will inevitably be lost to time, with only old wiki articles and abandoned subreddits providing an incomplete glimpse into the kind of experience Marvel Heroes provided. And this is the real tragedy of it all. An entire era of video games is built on a foundation of sand that can get blown away by the fickle whims of executive boards and intellectual property owners. Live services, for all their talk of high value and infinite lifespan, are built to be abandoned when profit or interest wanes. Now you might be asking why this all matters. Even if a live service crumbles to dust, it'll hopefully be after a whole slew of sequels and competitors have been released. The original game may no longer be playable, but that doesn't mean you still can't enjoy other, newer games and experiences. And this is 100% true. The march of new game releases will continue until the end of time, so the loss of a few games over that time is probably negligible. However, the purpose of preservation isn't solely to maintain an ever-growing library of entertainment, but to educate and build common cultural experiences. Games aren't created in a vacuum, and sometimes the best way to understand and appreciate new designs and innovations is to go back and play the older games that inspired them. Even bad and mediocre games can impart some lesson, and the act of playing the game does more to teach than reading a review or watching a Let's Play video. Losing a live service game means losing a whole slew of potential lessons that could make better games in the future, and this is especially tragic if the game has an exceptionally well-designed moment or level, like the original Destiny's Vault of Glass raid. By locking away these games behind closed servers, we're putting a shelf life on valuable resources that game developers can use to solve design problems or even create whole new experiences. Beyond that, playing old games can build bridges and form bonds across time. This is more common with games based on multimedia properties like Marvel, but also applies to franchises like Mario. The ability to revisit previous titles creates a common point of reference between old and new players, which in turn enriches their ability to meaningfully communicate and interact with each other. The better or more accessible titles can also act as a point of entry and help grow the community in a meaningful way long after the game is considered new or cutting edge. However, losing live services to time and corporate indifference means that the communities built around those games will wither and die, and with them the ability for people who like the same thing to grow closer. Unfortunately, I don't see this trend slowing down anytime soon. Online-only free-to-play games have established themselves as a part of the industry, and the AAA movement towards live services is just an extension of this business model. We're literally at the mercy of publishers and game developers when it comes to preserving live service games on private servers or through end-of-life patches. However, the US Copyright Office is considering a DMCA exemption for abandoned online games, which could make it easier for enthusiasts and independent activists to preserve these games for future generations. So what do you think? Are live service games even worth preserving? Should there be a DMCA exemption for online games? When playing a live service is the only way to win, not to play? Leave a comment below or join the conversation on Reddit, and thanks for watching.